Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction Postgame Show. I am James Ham. With me, Mr. Rui Thomas. Give us a wave, Rui. It's a cleaner, shorter-haired Rui. No eye patch, Rui.
No.
All right, the Sacramento Kings fall to the Brooklyn Nets, 107-99. The wheels have fallen off the Sacramento Kings bus. They have now lost 13 of 17. They have lost 8 of 10. They look listless. They look like they were disinterested. They look like they could care less for many moments in this game. Rui, would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely, James. I mean, they were slow to lose balls. The defense was lax again. We saw Cousins and many other guys. Uh, you know, they simply had to foul Mason Plumlee, and they put the Nets on the line a lot just because they're getting burnt by their first step. Very often. The Kings. They did. I thought they came out pretty hot. They were shooting over 50% in the first quarter, and we saw McLemore go 3 of 3 for 8 points, and we saw DeMarcus go 3 of 4. Every starter had scored, but then when the second quarter started, that's when the bench fell on its face and allowed the Nets to get up to their double-digit lead. Right, they had their 30-16 second quarter performance, and then the Kings kept shooting themselves in the foot with turnovers. They only had 4 turnovers in the first quarter. They managed to lose 7 turnovers in the second and third quarters, which obviously didn't help.
Yeah, there is not a whole lot of helping themselves going on right now with this team. They keep finding new and exciting ways to fall flat on their face, and I think what we're seeing here is number one, a team that's confused. They're confused about who they are, what they are, where they weren't the first 15 games of the season. Under Michael Malone, they knew exactly who they were. They were a defensive-minded team. Now, here's the rub. Like, look, I get it. The Kings are not happy. Just so everyone knows, the locker room is very, very, very unhappy with what's happened here. They are confused. They do not know why Michael Malone was let go. They hear why he was let go. And then they also know that the other things that are going on behind the scenes of why he was let go. This team is sort of revolting right now against the management of this team, against the ownership of this team. They're struggling with this whole fast-paced, crazy, frenetic offense that somebody wants to institute when they know that they're best when they're a defensive-minded team. And what we're seeing here is a team that literally is not doing anything. I mean, you're having moments where individuals are doing great things, but as a team, they aren't helping each other. They're getting chippy with each other. They're starting to take it out on each other, and what we've seen is like a digression into an all-star game defense. So this isn't like new, fast-paced, crazy, fun offense. This is ridiculously bad defense that leads to wide-open looks on both ends for both teams because nobody cares. At a certain point, the other team realizes, hey, when it comes crunch time, we're going to be able to get whatever we need out of this team. This Kings team right now is not playing for each other. They're not playing. They're not playing. Is what they're doing. They're playing for stats, and it's really a frustrating thing to watch for fans. I know because I'm seeing it in my timeline during the game on Twitter. This has become an ugly situation very quickly, and this season is spiraling out of control. I don't think George Karl can help this. I don't think the management can help this. I think the only thing that can happen here is that Sacramento Kings, the players, look at themselves and say, who do we want to be as a basketball team? And do we want to be a team that's known as the guys who quit midway through a season because a coach got fired? Or do we want to go out there and play Kings basketball, which is Michael Malone basketball? That's how this team is built. It is a grinder team. That is how they are going to get this thing back on track. To watch DeMarcus Cousins in the locker room on Saturday night complain about defense, talk about defense, and carry on about how this team needs to get back to defensive principles, and then watch him not move his feet at all, let Mason Plumlee go right around him, let Brook Lopez go right around him, and then foul on just chippy little reach fouls and give him and ones and a shot. I mean, that's DeMarcus. It's on DeMarcus Cousins. It's on Rudy Gay. It's on Darren Collison, who picks up 3 fouls in like 9 minutes of play in the first half. This team is struggling, and the only thing they can do is look at each other and figure out how to play better between the lines. Until they do that, we're going to see them drop easy games. Tonight, this was an easy game. The Nets are not a good team. I mean, that's just being honest. The Nets are not a good team. Neither are the Celtics or the Timberwolves or the Pistons that are coming up. But at this point, the Sacramento Kings aren't a good team either. So I guess that was like a Grant's rant. Sorry about that, Rui. I kind of hijacked the Road Reaction post-game show. What are your thoughts, Rui, now that I've gone nuts?
Oh no, I mean it was great to hear that emotion because I think a lot of people agree with you. I mean, their performance, it tells all. These guys, you asked that question if, if they want to be quitters after Malone's fired or they want to come together in his absence, and they're definitely leaning toward the former. And I think the defense, the first thing, that is a major hint, right? We don't see the help defense is just not there anymore. The perimeter defense was lax. We saw that near the end of the game when Mirza Teletovic, right, hit those back-to-back three-pointers to when the Kings are coming back, when they're down 5, put the game out of reach. Their body language not good. We see, very bad shots on offense for stretches. Jason Thompson pulling out for those long jumpers. I believe he was like 1 for 3 on those jumpers tonight. But we are seeing some selfish basketball that's starting to look like the Kings teams of recent seasons past, as far as the shot selection and kind of the laziness. Well, I wouldn't say laziness. Kind of just not the energy and intensity you want to see on that end of the court.
Yeah, they're disinterested. And I'm going to say this too. Like you brought up Jason Thompson there. I'm going to point to Jason Thompson's lack of minutes as a huge reason why the Sacramento Kings keep failing and keep losing on the defensive end. I mean, at this point, if you're going to put him out there for 30 minutes, I don't know how he's going to react. Honestly, I think he's going to be just like everyone else going out there to get his points. You had Jason Thompson bought in to a system where he was out there playing defense, taking the toughest guard, doing what he had to do to make this team better. And then the management of this team did what they did and made this team a whole lot worse. And that's not an indictment on Tyrone Corbin. I think Tyrone Corbin is a very nice guy and a very good coach. I think Tyrone Corbin is in just like the worst situation I've ever seen. And I mean, again, tonight Jason Thompson plays 13 minutes. I mean, he has 4 fouls, but how can you blame Jason Thompson for the way this team unraveled? I mean, in the second quarter when Jason Thompson was on the bench, this team got absolutely blown out. I think they lost 30-14 in the second quarter. Every other quarter of this game, the Kings actually either won or tied. So they won the first, they won the fourth, and they tied the third quarter. But in the second quarter, the bench just killed them. And I guess that's an issue that the starters maybe are looking at and saying, Jesus, here we have Ray McCallum coming in going 0 for 5. Reggie Evans went 0 for 5 and turned the ball over 2 times in 8 minutes. I mean, it was ugly. Omri Caspi, 1 of 5 from the field. I mean, you start putting these together. Derek Williams, 1 of 3 from the field. When it's not just that the Kings have like tried something new as far as turning up the tempo, they've also mixed and matched lineups, and it's really added like this weird level of just like discord on the floor. Carl Landry is a guy who was playing very effective ball, and all of a sudden he can't even sniff the court. And when he does, he's the guy who knows what he's doing, and he's finding ways to score and be effective. But again, Carl Landry over the last week and a half has hardly played at all, and tonight we see the same thing. I mean, 3 of 3 from the field, but he only plays 12 minutes in the game, and so the Kings have to figure this out because it's unfortunate, but it's not fair for the fan base. It's not fair for people who pay money to see this team to have this team sort of unwind like this. So Rui, let's get to some of the pluses in this game. I guess we'll just we'll do some statistical rundowns just because that's typically what we do in the Road Reaction post-game shows. Rudy Gay, 25 points, 5 assists, 9 rebounds, a solid game. Shoots 9 of 21 from the field. Some people aren't going to be too happy with 21 shots out of him. I'm fine with that. DeMarcus Cousins, again, another double-double. He's collecting double-doubles like they're going out of style. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. He does turn the ball over 5 times. He is a main culprit of the monster turnover night. Darren Collison, 16 points, 8 assists. Again, 4 turnovers. Collison was solid, and he has been solid, especially from behind the arc. We're seeing Ben McLemore struggle to get shots, and he's still being effective. He scores 11 points tonight on 4 of 9 shooting. but 3 of 7 from behind the arc, which is good. He's just not getting shots, and you can tell that that's kind of a frustrating thing as well. And Nick Stauskas is coming on. I mean, we've seen a couple of good games in a row here by Stauskas. 8 points in 17 minutes of play, 3 of 5 from the field, hits both of his 3-pointers. Is there any stat besides just the raw numbers, Rui, that stick out to you for this team tonight?
Well, I don't think. I mean, we see bad offense for stretches when when they just can't make a basket, right, and they allow the opponents to go on runs. But I mean, the Kings, the offense isn't really a problem. They shot 48.7% tonight and 9 of 20 from three-point range. The Kings don't take many threes, and they're in the bottom, third of the league in makes. But the 9 for 20 tonight. I mean, that's all you can ask as far as shooting from downtown. And then the Kings, while leading the league in free throw attempts, they only drew 20 free throws tonight, but they made 80% of those. So it's good to see that efficiency. But again, it goes back to the turnovers, those bad shots. But I also agree with Stauskas, starting to turn things on, made 2 big threes over the course of the game.
All right, Rui, let's get to our 3 points of the game. Your first point was race to retirement. The Nets are an old roster. They're an old team, and they're not getting any younger. And they typically, they allow a lot of fast break points. The Kings tonight, they do finish with 18 fast break points. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad as far as league rankings and stuff. I mean, I would say that's probably right around, the average. I think the Kings struggled when the Nets got them in the half court and really sort of grinded them out. And I thought the Nets actually played solid defense, got back pretty well. Those are things that I think that we can point to as far as that first key. Is there anything else you see in that first key?
Well, you mentioned the half court sets, right? The Nets, they out-muscled and out-bullied the Kings tonight. I think that was evident by the way Jarrett Jack and Darren Williams went at Darren, right, in the first half. And then the Kings, they were attacking the paint early to start the game. They had 14 points in the paint in the first quarter, but then the Nets charged and brought the attack back at them. So we saw Lopez had a great game. Mason Plumlee, right, dominated tonight. He had 24 points, or sorry, he had 22 points, only 4 boards, but 16 free throw attempts, which is shocking.
Nuts, yeah.
I mean, again, the Nets are ancient. KG's 38 years old. Joe Johnson's 33. Jared Jack's 31. Allen Anderson, who had a good game tonight, he's 32. So, these guys, their first instinct isn't to run, and it isn't to defend it either. But the Kings couldn't take advantage of that after averaging, over 20 fast break points a game in the last 4 contests.
All right, Rui, let's get to point number 2. Point number 2 is the bench versus the bench. And the Sacramento Kings bench failed miserably tonight. I don't think there's any other way to put it. They get outscored 37-19. And why don't you break down some of the numbers from the bench that stick out to you?
Okay, so the bench, right after the break, right after the first quarter, they start off shooting 1 for 6, right? They allowed the Kings to get into a hole. That first half, they were outscored by the Nets bench 24-5, and for the game, they were outscored 38-19. So, on Ray McCallum, a lot of fans and media, been questioning why Ramon Sessions, right, had the backup job, point guard job for so long, and you see nights like this. I mean, he's a second-year player, right? He's going to have inconsistent nights like this where, the bench failing. A lot of it is his fault. He goes over 5, over 4 in the first half. Only 1 assist, so he was a non-factor. And then Reggie Evans against his former team, while he pulled down 5 rebounds, he went over 2. Couldn't make any difference on the offensive end. Derek Williams, complete non-factor after he made his layup in the first quarter. Landry, right, in this new high up-tempo offense, he seems to be getting phased out now. But in those 12 minutes he played, very efficient, right, using him the way he should be, which is setting him up on the block so he can work and use his moves. And then Caspi was bad too tonight. He hit the 3 in the fourth quarter. Rather than that, he was 1 for 5. So the bench was blasted tonight by the Nets, who they feature starters on that bench. Darren Williams, right, big household name, and Brook Lopez, who's a very skilled offensive center. So the Kings bench was just they less talented than the Nets bench.
Yeah, I'd add this too. Like the Carl Landry thing to me is like one of the stranger things because it's kind of like the Michael Malone thing, right? When Vivek Ranadive decided to hire Michael Malone, he knew that he was a defensive-minded coach. Now, in Vivek's defense, he had never seen Michael Malone as a head coach, so he never got to see offensive sets from him. And he never got to see like the whole package of Michael Malone. But that's not true about Carl Landry. If you wanted to run this crazy, fast, up-tempo, wild, running gun, Golden State Warriors 2002 Sacramento Kings offense, then why spend $27 million dollars or $26 million dollars over 4 years on a 30-year-old Carl Landry? It didn't make any sense at the time, and at this point, it makes even less sense because now what you've got is a guy that you can't even use. You don't have a spot for him. And it's clear that one of the directives that we're seeing that Tyrone Corbin is trying to do is he's using Omri Casspi and Derek Williams together in the front court. He's trying to use those two quick guys in the front court. That's number one. Number two, we're seeing a lot of Rudy Gay at the 4, which we did not see at all in the first in the first quarter of the season under Michael Malone. It was Jason Thompson, Carl Landry, Reggie Evans at the 4, and those guys never got a sniff of the court at the 4. Derek Williams and Omri Casspi. Now we're seeing like what we thought was going to happen during the offseason, and it's playing out. So clearly, there's a directive there for Coach Corbin to mix up that 4 position and to sort of change things. But to me, it's not working. That this isn't who the Kings roster is, and you can say, "Oh, it's going to take a little bit of time and stuff like that." But when was Derek Williams ever known as a defensive player? When has he ever been known as a starting power forward or a guy that can play 18 minutes at the power forward position? The answer to that is never. He's never been that guy. He's never going to be that guy, and it is what it is, right? So let's get to our last key to the game, an encore by DeMarcus Cousins. Honestly, since DeMarcus Cousins has been back, he's just been a giant. There's nothing bad you can say about him except for last couple of games. Maybe his defense has been subpar. He admitted that in the last game, coming back after having the gastroenteritis. He had some issues and certainly was a step slow. Didn't feel like he was back to himself, except for he did drop 39 points, which kind of leads you to believe like, well, maybe you were feeling okay. I'm not sure. Maybe you were feeling okay. Tonight, again, 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. He's developing an all-around game, which I think is something that everybody wanted to see. He's also developing a mentality that he can't be stopped, which to me is like one of the funner things to watch. That as a guy who's covered a team and who's watched basketball for years, to watch a guy like figure out that he's so good that no one can stop him. The dunk he had tonight over Plumlee will be on SportsCenter. It was just vicious, and for that matter, I don't know where the foul call was on that dunk. But this guy is developing. He's developed. He's an MVP candidate if his team is winning. I think that's why we're seeing the frustration level with him rise. It's not just on the court. We're seeing the frustration level rise. Trust me. He is frustrated overall, and we're seeing it all over the place. So I think he's the guy that you were worrying about when you made a coaching change, and it's actually on the court. It's playing out okay, but I don't think he's figured out how to control his emotions still after this sort of event that's kind of jarred him and thrown him for a loop. Would you agree with that, Rui?
Oh yeah, I mean he's not getting technicals called on him, but you can see his frustration right on the court and in the locker room. I mean, some people compare him to a ticking time bomb. So, I mean, he hasn't gone off yet, so that's probably good for the organization. But we have to wait and see. Tonight he had 12 field goal attempts and 9 free throw attempts to total 24 points and 13 rebounds and 4 assists after on Saturday when he had 39 in the 11. I don't think his minutes are an issue anymore after coming off the viral meningitis and the gastroenteritis. He played 37 tonight, so I think Corbin, took the reins off him. 5 turnovers. Turnovers have been a big problem for DeMarcus this season, and right, that went. You can put that on with the 21 total team turnovers the Kings had, but uh, it's hard. I mean, it's hard for me to complain with what he's doing. You know, he's going out there with all these recovering from all these ailments. Right, he's lost 8 or 10 pounds when he was sick, and on the offensive end, he's looking as great as ever.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. He's looked very good. I mean, he's not the problem. I don't know that he can be the solution either, which is one of the issues that you always have with DeMarcus. This team needs to have a coming to Jesus talk with each other. They need to sit down in the locker room and say, look, there's all these things out there, and there's all these, rumors of trades and rumors of coaching changes. Again, there has been a coaching change. There's been lineup changes, but at the end of the day, this team needs to look at the guy next to him and say, look, we as a team have to collectively get better. And if we don't decide to let this just fall off us, water off the duck's back type deal, then this whole season is going to spiral out of control so quickly. I mean, again, they have this 3-game road trip that's left. It's a 4-game road trip, but the next 3 games, Boston, Minnesota, Detroit, they easily could get right near 500 again. They have an opportunity to fight their way back, and once again, be in a conversation. But they've got to kind of get over this situation and just let it go. I mean, and not only that, but have an ideological discussion on who they are as a basketball team. And regardless of what an owner wants, or what is the owner going to do if the Kings just play really good defense and slow it down once they're on the court? I mean, is he going to bench Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins and Darren Collison? The answer is no. He's not going to bench those guys. And so they have to play the game of basketball the way that they know how to play it and the way that can effectively lead to victories. And I think they know what that style is. I think Michael Malone knew what that style is. If you want this to be the Golden State Warriors, then go get Steph Curry, go get Klay Thompson, go get Draymond Green, go get these guys who bomb away from 3 all day long and have no conscience and who move the ball. But even still, even if you had those guys on this team, it's not going to work because these guys aren't playing for each other right now, and they're not going to. I mean, it's hard to find an open spot for a 3-pointer if no one passes you the ball, or no one sets a pick for you. So this team needs to get right in the head. So let's get to our MVP of the game, Rui. I'm going to let you take it first. You choose whoever you want, Kings or Nets.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with Rudy Gay tonight. 25 points on 9 of 21 shooting, and perfect from the line, 6 for 6. Added 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. He had his baseline, turnaround jumper going tonight, and he was a big reason why the Kings were able to climb back in the fourth quarter, hitting big jumpers and driving to the lane with authority. We saw him disrupt a couple passes as well. I thought he was a major factor making up for the deficiencies of the rest of the team, besides Cousins.
All right, I'm actually going to go to the Nets, and the reason I'm going to the Nets is because I thought what Mason Plumlee did against the Kings was pretty spectacular. He only has 4 rebounds, but 22 points on 6 to 7 shooting. The free throws, he's not a great free throw shooter, but he still goes 10 of 16. 16 free throws is nuts, and I thought that was really good. The other thing I'm going to point out, number one, 2 personal fouls total. And what I really like about him, he gets you a block, but he also got this team 3 steals. And the reason why the Sacramento Kings have 21 turnovers is in a large part because they're sloppy with the ball, but it's also because the Nets had 12 steals, and 3 of those steals came from Mason Plumlee. And then another 4 steals came from Kevin Garnett in 21 minutes of action. Garnett's just such an old pro's pro. He's just so fun to watch still. He doesn't play very much, but when he does, he's so incredibly effective and just still a beast. He still is so smart, and he was poking away balls from guards all night long. It was really fun to watch. So, KG is probably in his last season or next to the last season, but we're kind of seeing like the fading great player, 15-time All-Star. He's in his 20th season, and he's just out there playing because he loves the game of basketball. So Plumlee's my MVP. My second MVP would probably be Garnett because of his limited minutes and his strong showing in those limited minutes. All right, Rui, do you have anything else for us tonight since I have gone on multiple diatribes?
Well, a little bit more on Garnett. I mean, it is a treat to see him play at 38. Almost brings a tear to my eye. Right, he's lost all
Don't
the.
cry on us, Rui. Don't cry.
He's lost right most of the athleticism we saw out of him from like the MVP year, right when he took the Kings down in the Western semifinals. But he finds a way to make it happen. You can't leap, but he doesn't get many blocks anymore either. But I mean, he is like a defensive mastermind. Knows where to be, knows where to prioritize, where he should be on the floor. So we'll have one more chance to see him play against the Kings, at least hopefully. Before the Kings, they have a game right against Boston, I believe, at 10:30 in the morning on Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to that.
Yeah, so let's just run down the schedule for the rest of the week. I think it is New Year's Eve. They have a 10 a.m. game. It's the coverage will start on CSN at 9:30. 10 a.m. game, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific. They come back the next night and play in Minnesota, a 5 o'clock game. Boy, isn't that fun? They get to fly on New Year's Eve to Minnesota. Clearly the hotbed of New Year's partying and festivities. So they get to go to Minnesota on New Year's Day for a 5 o'clock Pacific start, and then they come back on Sunday and play against Detroit. Again, all of these are winnable games, but that's if this is a 9-6 Sacramento Kings team from the first 15 games of the season. Since then, this team has not been good at all. So we'll see what happens. All right. Well, we will be back on Wednesday for the another Road Reaction postgame show. Rui Thomas will be joining me yet again, and we'll see if this Kings team figures out what ails them and moves forward as opposed to backwards, which is what they continuously seem to want to do. So, I am James Ham. He is Rui Thomas. You've been watching the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction postgame show. We'll see you later this week. Thanks for tuning in.